Good morning, and thank you for having me. Just a little bit of background. I'm originally a mountain boy, come from Watauga County up in Boone. Uh, Did my undergraduate at ASU. Really never knew about Surrey County till my wife and I, we were engaged. We were high school sweethearts. Uh, we made a deal when we became engaged that the first to gain employment, the other would move. She gained employment, and I got to move. But it has been a blessing for my family to be here. We have two beautiful children, and they go into the city school system, and we're invested in this community, and it's been a lifelong dream to serve in this capacity and to serve in a great community. So thank you for having me today, and I look forward to speaking with each of you. Of course, today I've been asked to address a few issues. One, how we invest in our community at the Mount Airy Police Department. The second, the services that we provide. And to close in on with the challenges that we have that we're dealing with COVID-19. So to start with investing in the community, we always feel the need to reach out and work with our community to solve issues that happen in our community. We have no control over what happens in other states in our national scene. We can only control what we have here. And the fact that we reach out to our community to address issues is just vital for our survival. One of the things that we started back in 2003 was our Citizens Police Academy. And it has been pivotal. And I'm sure some of the folks that I see, our participants, have participated in that program. To date, we've had over 419 participants in that program. So it says a lot for the initiative. We usually start in early January. We finish up around April. It's a good opportunity for individuals in our community and outside our community as well to learn more about the police department, the men and women who wear the badge, and those services we provide. So that's my little pitch for that program. Anyone interested, please reach out to me. We're hoping that COVID continues to go away and we're able to resume that program next year. We had to cut it short this year, but we're hopeful and optimistic that we can regain that program next year. Something else we do is called our Second Chance program. We started that in 2016. And what we do with that, we aim at youth offenders because we realize that young people make mistakes and they have to have the opportunity to deal with those with consequences without the stigma attached to it, without being into the justice system, so to speak, because once they're intertwined in the system, it can be cyclical, there can be recidivism, and there are things that really we would like to try to avoid with our youth. To date, we've had 89 participants in the program, and we're thankful and lucky to report that we have a 98% succession rate with that. So it is really good program. And what it consists of is, one, we want to show accountability for their actions. Two, we want to get them to know their community's safety members. And three, we want them to give back to the community. And what we do, we ask them to provide community service activities for nonprofits. So they actually get to give back and show accountability in the same tune. So we're good for that as well. Something this year that we started was a drug diversion program. We know that our community is not immune, and we know that opioids have overtaken our community. And we know that there's certain individuals who want opportunities to do better and to get opportunities to do better. So this year we started a pilot program, and it takes a special individual to participate in it. But essentially the way it works, if we encounter someone and they want assistance, we're working with Daymark and other individuals to provide assistance. And we've had two thus far because we've got to be extremely careful who we choose because it's a pilot program and we want to be successful. But we've got two in the program thus far and they're doing really well. And what we do is we get individuals who are participating and they want to make sure that they want to do better, and to hold them to a degree of accountability, we will divert the charges. And if they're successful in their initiative, we don't charge. So that gives them an opportunity to avoid criminalization. It avoids that opportunity to get the scarlet letter. And what I call the scarlet letter is that felony record, because we all know once an individual is labeled as a felon, their opportunities in life are dramatically decreased. And if you don't have opportunities, how do we ever expect anyone to succeed, to be prosperous, and give back to the community? So we're really optimistic about how that will go and we're the future and how we can expand on that. We also participate with the Mount Airy City Schools in the summer feeding programs. We've done that for years. It is just a great outreach effort that we get to participate in, and it's good for all individuals. And when we do those feeding programs, we bring members from the community in as well with local churches to help us with those endeavors. And it's really a blessing. That's the best way I can describe that. We have an in-house benevolence fund. Now, you may think that's odd, but our officers see the need in the community, and we give of our own money for this benevolence fund. We use those for hotel rooms, food, gas, clothing, school supplies, whatever we can do. But they care enough, and they know there's the need that they give from their own pockets. And I'm very proud of that. We also have an Explorers program, and we try to target kids from the age of 14 to 20. And it's based on the Boy Scouts of America. It's initially umbrellaed under that organization, which I know has come under some discredit lately, but that's where the platform comes from. It's structured as a law enforcement with the ranks, and they're able to do community service projects, and they attend different functions. They're very helpful. Back early spring, we had an issue, actually late last fall, we had an issue where we had someone and homeless individuals that set up a camp and some private properties. Oh goodness, the property was in disarray. We spoke with the property owner, who was actually from Virginia, and they're like, look, is there any way that you know of a resource how we can get this cleaned up? So we took our explorers, they took their time. I think it was one morning, we worked for probably 4 hours, and those kids put their best forth effort, did a wonderful job. So they served and gave back to the community, and we solved an issue as well. So it's a good program for any youth that would be interested. We really encourage that. We also have a lot of our members who participate in youth athletics. We even have members who are pastors in our local communities. So the men and women who work here, it's not just a job. This is their community that they live in, they invest in, and they want to see the best for our community and the members of our community. When we look at services provided, we do our best to be a self-supporting entity. And what I mean by that, when we have issues and calls and anything that our community needs, we take pride in the fact that we have the right officers with the right training to resolve those matters. In order to do so, that takes a great deal of training, and it takes training in specialized areas. Some of those areas that we talk about are firearms instructors, subject control instructors, less lethal instructors. We have defensive tactics instructors, physical fitness instructors. We have drug recognition experts, which are really not that heard of in our area, particularly the fact that we have 2 in our small department speaks highly. We have sterile skill sobriety instructors. We have a polygrapher. So what I'm getting at, we try to make sure we have tailored training to respond to the needs of the community. So when someone calls, we're able to do our best and provide our best service for those individuals. It takes a lot of training, it takes a lot of commitment and dedication. When we talk about how we use our service in the community, I'll just hit a few points. We continue to do site assessments for security purposes for profits and nonprofits, as far as in trying to make sure that their locations are safe and they're less likely to be victimized or targeted for crimes. We do active shooter trainings. Of course, that's something that's a really catchphrase and something that's happened a lot here recently with our churches and other locations. So what we do, we'll send our subject matter experts in, they'll do an assessment, they'll meet at any type of training that they need, they try to facilitate so we can make sure that our businesses, our nonprofits, they feel more comfortable with their environment and what they need to do to respond if things like that were to occur. We do a lot of public education events. Essentially, we try to gear it towards the public safety sector, but we get called to do a lot of presentations on a lot of different topics, and we take pride in that. So if it's out there, we'll do our best to present it. If it's out of our realm of expertise or something we feel comfortable with, we'll let individuals know. One thing real popular is our security checks. We do security checks when people are out of town on vacation. We check the residences, 3 times a day to make sure that they feel safe as far as their property rights are took care of. Really, really popular. So if you've never have opportunity of that advantage, please do so. Something else is our Operation Medicine Drop. Now, we started that back in, I think, around 2012. In 2018, we had taken back over 1.3 million dosage units of medication. And you can only imagine how much time it takes to count 1.3 million pills. So we thought, well, that's really not effective use of everyone to be counting as much as what we had to. So from about 2018 on, we started weighing our medication instead of counting it. And since that date, we've taken over 1,300 pounds of medication back. Of course, that medication otherwise could be diverted, either intentionally or unintentionally, and just the disastrous consequences that can come with that. We also do internships with high school and college students. We think that's a really good way to reach out and to try to reinvest in the public safety area. We have a lot of kids that have a lot of interest, so we encourage kids to partake in those. We try to aim for 18 and above because at 18 is when we can actually have them do ride-alongs with the officers. Before 18, you know, they can do a lot of observation, Q&A, but they really get their hands into the mixture, so to speak, when they turn 18. So it's a really good initiative. Of course, COVID-19 has created challenges for everyone in our community, and we have seen a dramatic increase in what we're having to deal with. One of the biggest things we had to do in realms of how we operate, we had to go from a more proactive role to a reactive role. Proactive is when you're out there doing your best to prevent crime from happening and deterring it from happening. But what we found out, we had to make that transition because if there's no need to have a lot of voluntary encounters, you need to try to cut those back because, you know, we're limited in our resources. We're limited in the men and women who we have. So we have to make sure we're safe with those personnel. What we did as far as the protocol, once individuals call into the PD for help, regardless of what type of help it is, our dispatchers have protocol questions that they go by. And they're centered around COVID-19 symptoms. Of course, we don't have the luxury of not responding. So depending on what type of questions we get, that will alert the officer to the proper PPE, the proper personal equipment to don and wear. So, of course, it is difficult, but that's the way we have to respond in order to keep us safe and the general public safe as well. Something else is the cleaning of our building and restricting the access points within our building. We had to limit access once individuals are inside. We have big signs and big indicators to direct people certain locations, but I'll tell you what, I think those signs, when someone will come in and read the signs, because we'll direct them to a desk and to use the phone. And we've got probably several barricades, and they'll maze their way through the barricades and walk right up to the front window, just as if they're immune to what we're reading. And it's been a learning process for our community as well, but it has worked. It has worked. Of course, we have to constantly sanitize our rooms, our buildings, our cars, not only protect the officers, but protect others who we come in contact with. One of the biggest challenges we have is these executive orders. A lot of the enforcement mechanisms falls on local municipalities. So what you have is you have orders which are based on the well-being of our communities, but we have those in our communities who are struggling financially because of restrictions that have been placed on them. So we find ourselves in between. Our main goal throughout the COVID issue has been voluntary compliance. We've worked with many businesses to try to gain compliance. The last thing we ever would want to do is to create another hardship on our local economy through sanctions, which are violations of the restrictions. So we have really been challenged during this time period because we see the challenges that our community are facing, our members are facing, and we know that if we don't work with our community at times like this, once these orders have been rescinded and we move past this phase, then we'll be the ones left, and either we help to solve the issue or we made the issue worse. And we always want to be on the side of resolution rather than aggravation. So in a nutshell, those are those three areas. I think what we have here is a unique community, a special community. And I believe the men and women who work here see how good our community can be, and just we're thankful for the opportunities, and we're always looking to improve our service for our citizens.